Okay, I've got an idea. This is a fun idea. This is very anti-AI, anti-everything. I think there could be a really exciting business called Date in a Box, where if I want to go on a date, I just go to Date in a Box website and say, all right, I'm in this city. And they're like, that's awesome. All right, we're going to meet you at this location with your box. And you and your spouse, you and your significant others get to go on this wonderful date that you didn't plan.
Not to mention, you can get Timberlake to sing your jingle. So
Absolutely.
you can call it, it's my date in a box. You know what I mean?
Dude, I thought about that. That's hilarious. That's really funny. Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Brenton from BrentonOnTour, host of the Do Did Will podcast. We were on his podcast a couple months back. It was awesome.
You certainly were. You were on my podcast when we relaunched it from the old thing, which was BrentonOnTour. And then I saw you guys online and I was like, I got to talk to these guys. This is a fabulous show that you have.
Just a selfish plug to us. How did you find us, by the way?
I think I saw you on TikTok first, possibly. And then it kind of led me to the other things. And it was all the micro clips of like, of just like the ideas, which obviously was the premise of the show, of dropping these ideas and things like that. But I think that's where the premise of it, where I found it, and I started looking around. And as I was relaunching and kind of rebranding and trying this new show out, it opened up things to be able to talk to new people from new avenues. And I'm like, I definitely need to speak to these guys because I love this show. So.
Dude, that's awesome. Real quick, can you give us a quick rundown on what your show was, what it is now? And actually, before we get into that, Kendall, you have a special guest as well.
Special guest.
Yes.
David Bachman. He's finally recording age. So
he's recording age, and he's fascinated by the microphone. Yeah.
Yep. He had his first birthday, and his mom went back to full-time school. So I take daddy shift 4 days a week right now.
Perfect.
So he's on Zoom calls. He's in conference room board meetings.
He knows what's going on.
I think this is his first podcast.
Oh, welcome. Welcome, buddy. Happy to see you.
Hi, David.
This is historic because he's going to go on to do amazing things in life, and people are going to look back on this through the YouTube things or whatever it will be in 20 years. True. And they'll go, remember when you were just a baby? And then he'll be on all the talk shows and they'll be like,
is that true, buddy?
I was a baby. And yeah.
Hey, so why don't you say you want to talk? No.
He's just fascinated.
So here's the thing. We're going to get in today a little bit later, and we want to finish our intro and background on Brenton, but we're going to get a little bit into the issues and opportunities that the next generation are facing. Because I know, Brenton, you got a couple kids, and we're fighting the same dopamine wars.
Absolutely.
In our homes. So, yeah, we'll get into that later, but please continue. So you have been a traveling.
Yeah, I had a show that started a brief one on me. I travel. I run concerts for a living. A network that I'm on out of Toronto called Crier Media. The guys that run that I've known for a little while, and they're like, I was trying to find all the best coffee in the world while I was out traveling, and I was making these Instagram posts, and the guys are like, you should start a podcast about it. I'm like, no one wants to listen to me talk about coffee, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. I can't do 200 episodes of that. But I actually did my first article for that network when it was under its old name. But I did my first article called "Which Coffee Asshole Are You?" And it actually took off. It was one of those articles of like, do you just go to Tim Hortons in Canada or Dunkin' Donuts and call it a win, or do you got to go to the man or the woman in the in the apron, like where do you slide in? And it's from that Paul Rudd scene from that movie that he did where he goes in and he goes, I'll take a large, and she's like, venti, and he's like, no, a large. And I was just like, yeah, that's where I'm at. So I started doing that, writing about it, and then it kind of lent itself to my travels and trying to find coffee, and I was documenting it, and I started this podcast where I started interviewing musicians and people in my world that loved coffee, and it sort of took off from there and turned into this kind of coffee podcast and music kind of combination. And I did it for 100 episodes in that kind of realm, and I kind of covered coffee, music, travel, and life. And we had COVID, and we had a couple of things where I wasn't on tour. It was called Brenton on Tour, and I wasn't on tour, so we changed it around a little bit. But I had this idea in my head for a long time to start sort of like a TED Talk thing called Do, Did, Will, that focused on people that do, people that did, and people that will, and as in things. And it sort of, I tabled it, and then as Brenton on Tour was sort of reaching its, I think I've taken this as far as it can go kind of phase, I said to myself, maybe I should shut it down, rebrand as Do, Did, Will, and then open up these conversations with people like yourselves that are doing other things, but we can still have these conversations. And it's been extremely, extremely fun and positive, and I've had all sorts of different conversations since it started. So there you go.
That's kind of cool. You probably get to have a lot more diverse conversations with that rather than just coffee and all that. Although I love coffee, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I'm not political either, but I do definitely want to have conversations in spaces a little bit more. I mean, you can dive in a little bit on some things, but I definitely wanted to just branch out and have different kind of conversations. So yeah.
It's perfect. Real quick, one thing. What is your coffee? Like, what is your go-to?
Black. All day.
Black?
In America, or in Europe, it's called a long black. Over here, they call it Americanos. Double shot espresso with some water. I think the purest form of coffee is that in essence. Just a black coffee. You don't get I don't add the cream and the sugars and things. It really gets me to the bean and to the core. And
that is exactly what I'm drinking right now.
I can tell the roast almost by the taste and things like that. So that's kind of where I lean, and I don't really get too fancy outside of that. It's really about the core bean for me.
So perfect. I've been running so hard this year that I have reflected backwards, and I counted 7 cups of raw coffee a day,
wow.
Which is about 80 milligrams a cup or more. A lot of them are quad shot Americanos. It's like 200 milligrams. But the amount of sugar that I ended up realizing was in those because I took them with cream and sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Or I took like white mocha in my quad shot Americano. It is insane. So I was sugar crashing. So then I was drinking more coffee to offset the negative effects of sugar crashing so I could have a full day of brain work or people work. So I did Whole30. I don't know if I told you, Dustin, 5 days ago.
Yeah, you told me that you're on it, right?
Yeah. I'm on like the worst today is like the break in the clouds. Like first day I don't feel like I have a sugar hangover.
Oh, so you're cutting sugar out completely? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so Whole30's I'm cheating a little, but it's cutting out everything that could possibly have an allergen or be pretty inflammatory for you, and you just go back down to basically nuts and proteins and leaves. And then you reintroduce after 30 days dairy, grains,
gotcha.
Sugars, carbs. Yep.
Dude, that's kind of hard, like the dopamine effect of all of it. I did something similar. Alcohol and coffee were the hardest things. Coffee was by far the hardest thing to cut out, which was really strange. I thought it would be something different, but very, very difficult. Brent, what were you going to say about that, though?
Oh, well, I mean, I had to, I mean, the black coffee is your gateway now, because you don't, if you take the sugar and the milk out of it and you just go to the black coffee, I mean, you're getting your caffeine. So your crashing will just be from your caffeine withdrawal versus the sugar, which is, I don't want to say it's better for you, but it definitely, it's healthier for you to not have that much sugar in it. So that's why I always encourage people, because, people struggle with their weight and they struggle with different things. And a lot of them, if they really, really look into it deeply, and I'm not big on diet and all the rest of it, but unnatural sugars and things like that,
it's in everything. I just found out that it's in milk. So I didn't know they were adding sugar to like a gallon of milk.
Yeah. There's so much sugar in there. And it's, that's why and you've got the little guy there now, no sugar before bed. No milk before bed. David. No milk before bed.
So did you
natural
go to college?
Milk?
Did you go to college, Brenton?
I went to a college in Ontario, yes.
Okay. Are you doing today something related to what you paid to go to college for?
Yes.
Okay. Dustin, you?
No. I did music composition, and I did music for a very long time. Toured a lot, so kind of your world. But
Yeah,
not
I
anymore.
mean, this is a degree away, though. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we are
Pretty big
talking.
degree away.
Yeah,
Performing, I suppose, would be the only thing you
It
could
evolved.
connect it to. Yeah.
It evolved.
What was your degree in, Brenton?
Well, I took a program called Entertainment Administration, and so it was a relatively new program back in '94 or something like that. I was in Southern Ontario, just outside of Toronto, in a college called Durham College, and they offer this program. And for me, my job that I have now is pretty new. It's really only since 2010 that promoters started hiring people to go run their concerts instead of going to do them themselves. And sort of that's so back then I was really trying to get in with House of Blues concerts, which became Universal, or Universal, which became House of Blues, which became, there was SFX and Live Nation, all these things that was the dream to get to that sort of, that area. And the only real courses that were being offered were like a full on music course, like you took, Dustin, or, like a music production course, which I looked at doing, and I just couldn't get past the ones and the zeros. So I didn't. And then there was an admin, and they were like, well, we handle entertainment law and we do a bit of venue stuff. And I'm like, oh, there it is, the venue thing, because then I can go, and at that point I'm like, maybe I'll go and manage a theater, or I'll go manage something, and that'll be my way in. So that was that course. But they also made you take psychology. They also made you take sociology, and they made you take all these other kind of things. And, that was, not fun. That wasn't great.
So what are some of the most interesting people or bands that you've met along the way doing that career?
Oh man.
Just like,
yeah, well, band wise,
who's your favorite? Who you were stoked?
I mean, Pearl Jam for sure. That was like the pinnacle for me of career, moment for me. What had happened was I had moved from Toronto to Vancouver, and was out of the business for a bit, and then got an opportunity to come back in. And that's where I started learning how to run concerts for bigger companies. And I had an opportunity in 2000 and I think 10 or 11 to go with Pearl Jam, across the country and run some shows. And it took me back to Toronto. So for me, it was like this moment of like, I'm in the Toronto Maple Leafs building. I'm doing a concert with all my friends here. All the people that helped me get started in this business are here. And so that was kind of like the moment for me where I was like, here it is. Everything I've worked for at that entertainment course is culminating at this moment right here in Toronto at Air Canada Centre at the time, with one of my favorite bands. So that will always hold like a really
How many people show up
substantial-
live to something like that?
Well, I mean, they do 2 nights, 3 nights sometimes. So it was like, 16,000 or whatever it was, 15
Wow.
times 2. So we did a couple of shows. It was really, really cool. So that was like a really great moment for me, personally, just one of those things where you're like, hey. But then as part of this thing that I have, a series that I had under BrentonOnTour, I had this sort of thing, this series within the series called Making It, and getting people's definition of making it. And so I was in the middle of the arena, and I got Neil Young beside me. I got Woody Harrelson beside me. Pearl Jam's on stage. It's this amazing moment. And I'm like, I made it. And then I looked around and I'm like, shit. I'm like, just to the top of this level and the bottom of the next.
Yeah. If that's how you think about it, you're stuck. You're going to die this way.
Well, I actually have spun that into a spot of like encouragement. Like, you never, like, we might have touched this on our when you guys were on my show, but I think it's everyone's definition of making it, or what level they want to get to. And some people just never have level, they can just never complete that level. Me, it was just recognizing that there's just always work to do. So I've never let it, I've done stadiums around the world now, and it's always like, yeah, I can do 100 stadiums this year, 25 stadiums this year. Someone's going to be doing 50. Or someone's going to be doing 150. So it doesn't get inside me. It's just like this. I've made it to this spot of where I want to be, and now everything else is kind of gravy. And there's things that I'm putting on the plate now. That's kind of my take on it.
That takes. Okay, so I have this weird theory. It's not even that weird of a theory, but basically your dreams are just the idealized version of who you want to be. And once you've achieved those dreams, once they happen and they come into realization, you realize, well, I'm no happier. I'm just this different version of myself. And then it just keeps on kicking that ball down the road, down the road, down the road. But I have to say, I don't know if that's the case. I'd be really, really jealous if I was involved with a Pearl Jam concert at the same level that you were, which is kind of cool. Dude, before we got on the call, though, what you were talking about is, was it like dopamine rush within concerts and live concert series or something like that? I want to get into that because you specifically had a really interesting point on it. If you could
it's
elaborate.
just about, you guys were asking me about like what I'm seeing at some of these shows, and having a 14-year-old daughter, it's TikTok. It's constantly needing to be entertained, and the patience level is kind of gone from a lot of this generation. I'm not going to be the old man yelling from the porch because Kiss started this. Kiss blew everything up and then kept blowing things up. So they made it to the point where you got to go see a Kiss show to see what else they're blowing up. And if they don't blow up enough, then you got to go see them again because they're probably going to blow more up next time. So what happened is it just the concert business hasn't changed from that side of it. People want to be entertained at shows. I'm sure you guys go to shows for various different things, right? You go, a Madonna show is going to be different than a Tone Loc show.
We got Cake coming through next month.
Cake's great, but like
so
a Cake
jealous.
show is going to be great. Pearl Jam's going to be different than Muse. Oasis is going to be different than Drake. Like everyone has their own version of things when they go to a show. So I'm just finding that you really gotta work to keep these kids entertained. And the kids are filming on their phones consistently. And I keep telling my daughter, I'm like, take a pic or two. Sure. I don't want you to not have like a memory of the show, but there's going to be enough people filming at the show, and someone's going to take that footage and compile it all together and turn it into like a YouTube, video that is exactly as long as the concert was, that has an angle from every single view.
Right.
And you're going to be able to watch that show that you were at, but instead you were in the moment. Like you can't be in the moment if you're holding your phone up and there's something happening over there. And then there's something happening over there, but you're focused on this with your phone. You have to be all encompassing, especially at a Muse show or something like that, or even a Kiss show or any of these things, or Drake or The Weeknd, any of the ones that have all these gags and these things going on. Or you have an opportunity to sit down and watch Pearl Jam, bring Neil Young up on stage, bring all these different people up on stage and be in a moment that is only exclusive to that moment. And it's just missed on the phone. Like, look what's happening with Coachella this weekend. I mean, Coachella are selling tickets for thousands of dollars and still streaming it for free.
It's crazy. I mean, people want to be in person, right? That's what that economics lesson is telling us. They want to be there, but the fact that they're going there and cheaping out like on the moment that they could have is really sad. But I do it too. Like it's not just my kids. So it's snuck into because Netflix is available every night. Disney. I mean, there is streaming. There is something high quality to watch. Productions are at an all-time high in quality and story and narrative. I mean, billions of dollars are spent so that I can, for $7 a month, get access to some of the best possible content. And then we've got swipes on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube Short. It's so easy to have no moments. This morning I spent 2 hours on the back deck, and then I was doing some yard work, and I actually found it really relaxing. Like it was a hard workout. It was exhausting. I was sweating. I was pollen in my eyes, and I loved it. And I realized how much over the winter, before spring hit, I had just missed being outside and not having a phone around.
Interesting point, like about, I film a little bit at the shows. I'm doing so many shows that I actually just get crowd. I like seeing people's, like I'm doing this gig for when the lights go out and people like lose their mind. They're getting exactly what they want at that point. So I like to get that stuff. I was in Seattle a couple weeks ago, brought my kid down. I went and saw a rock band called Alter Bridge, but they had a band called Mammoth open up, which is Eddie Van Halen's kid. And I don't know if you guys saw any of the Foo Fighter tribute shows from LA or Wembley, but I won't spend too much time on this, but I just want to give you an example. Wolf Van Halen, when he started his solo band, got pressure to just do Eddie Van Halen songs and do Van Halen songs. And he's like, no, I'm writing my own songs. I played everything on the record. No, my dad did that. That's him and whatever. Taylor Hawkins passes away and he goes and plays the tribute shows. And then Dave Grohl comes out with him and Josh Freese and they do Van Halen for 3 songs. And that was like his sort of like F you to his haters. It's like, you want me to play it? I'll play it in this situation as a tribute to Taylor Hawkins and I'll play it just as good as my dad, which was perfect. Fast forward to the Seattle show. He drops a brand new single and then this monster bridge in this solo, Dustin, just speaking music talk here, but this monster bridge and solo that he does that hadn't been played live yet and had just dropped 24 hours before. So I'm like, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get that bridge because I knew where it was coming. I'm going to film it and I'm going to post it at the same time. And I posted it on Insta and I posted it on Twitter just for fun. And his mom, Valerie Bertinelli, retweeted it and it went viral. I'm not doing it for that purpose. I'm just saying that moment, it's rare that you're in a situation where Drake hasn't played 15 shows in a row and it's the same show. It's rare you're in a situation where you're in a club. Eddie Van Halen's kid just dropped a brand new song with a monster solo and it's the first time it's being played live. I'm in the moment, but I filmed it and it went viral. That's how badly people want information. And I don't do that very often, but that moment was like, I got to get this. And in comparison, I went to Seattle a couple nights ago to see Muse and didn't record a thing because I need to be in that moment of watching that band just live. It's just incredible.
Oh,
yeah, that makes
so,
sense.
And I had that discussion with my daughter afterwards where I'm like, you see, like, you can tell me parts now that I might have missed because you were watching every single aspect of the thing instead of filming it. She's like, yeah, okay.
So what do you do as a parent? So what do your kids are having this fight with dopamine. They're trying to capture everything on their iPhone so they can share it with friends, which is, I feel connected to my friends because I'm giving them kind of a virtual experience of what I'm in person experiencing, but they're not really in person experiencing it. They're losing that presence, but they don't know what they're missing because it's such a habit.
I'm trying to tell her that. Well, I'm trying to balance the Gary V. You can't ignore your kids' movement towards tech and letting them, because they're going to teach me. They're already way ahead of me on some stuff. But on the flip side, I'm also trying to make them aware that it doesn't matter. Like doing this on TikTok. TikTok's already 4th now. Since we've spoken last, it's dropped to 4th because now Facebook fan pages are number 1. Where did that come from? And then it's like Reels on YouTube because we know, and Shorts, and then on YouTube, and then these things. And TikTok is hovering between 3 and 4 now. When we talked a couple weeks ago, it was number 1. That's how fast it changes. And I'm trying to encourage them, like, none of it matters because it's all, but it's next month, it's something else is going to come and wipe the floor with them.
Okay, here's the big question. I'm glad you said all of that. This is the thing I really wanted to get to. So technology is evolving massively. AI is, crazy. This huge steamroll of new, better. You even talked about Muse, how there's kind of a shtick for every song. Like there's Fire. I'm sure you saw Fire 1,000 times.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything like that. I think there is a really, really big case that will soon happen. And there could be a lot of opportunity in it, which is just the countercultural movement. It's like the punk rock movement. It's going to be organic, gritty, and techless.
Nothing's recorded.
Yeah. So think about this. The best example is the hipster movement. I talked about this before. You go into coffee, right? What did we do in the 90s? We kind of perfected coffee. What happened with the hipster movement? No. Now you need a Chemex. Really? Why? Well, you just need extra. Okay. Now I need a special gooseneck not pouring device for my stupid pour over, which you really don't need. That's all bullshit. But we have taken this, we put up hurdles in front of us because we don't want that consumer culture. Do you think there's a possibility within the production industry or music industry in general? Do you think there's an opportunity in this, or do you disagree? Do you think that you have to get bigger and better and flashier?
No. Talent wins at the end of the day. At the end of the day, if your show sucks, it doesn't matter how much you blow up. If you're a terrible band, it's not going to fly because what's happening is we're having a real problem with new stadium acts. Like look at all the the acts. If you look at the list of the bands that are on tour in stadiums, outside of Bad Bunny, Harry, and Ed Sheeran and Taylor, who's taking over for the rock thing? You still have Guns N' Roses out. You still have Def Leppard and Motley Crue out. You still have like Metallica going, but who is like the new stadium act? And that's not happening. It's because, and I'm not ripping on any bands, but no one has stepped up to become the new thing. So talent wins no matter what you blow up or how much. It's really about how music speaks to people, and music speaks to people very differently. To each their own, but when it comes to the stadium experience, there's just nobody there right now that is coming through that is gonna do that. So it's very interesting to me to see. You guys mentioned about not filming. Comedy has been leading the forefront of that. Comedy, you got to check your phone. You're not allowed to record.
I love that.
And so it keeps it pure, and people don't even doubt it. So you have to bring them into it and say, no, you are not allowed to film. And they'll bitch and complain, but then they're going to be in the moment, and then they'll get their phone on the way out. And so it can be done. People can be done. They're just as you said, they're just used to buying the spout for the pour over because someone told them they had to. I think that if you tell people, it's like we've learned over the last couple of years, all politics aside, people are going to be on the fence as to if you tell them what to do, some of them are going to do it and some of them aren't. You know what I mean? Yeah. But when it comes to movies and films and stuff, like what happened with Top Gun, like were like, we're going Netflix or we're going to Paramount, we're going on and here. And Tom was like, no, it has to be seen in a theater and we will wait 4 years for that to happen. And he did. And it became the biggest movie in the world. So it can be done. Someone has to lead that charge.
I'm curious, is the barrier to entry, I mean, obviously it's astronomically high, but is there a reason that there's no new acts that are taking stadiums simply because of just the high risk involved? If they don't get the ticket
they're
sales,
expensive, they're out, right? And stadiums are overrated as far as I'm concerned. It's just a matter, and I don't mean that to diss any artist. I'm just saying the experience. My kids had seen Muse in a stadium in Paris and then in an arena. And I'm like, guys, you're going to have one of the best experiences of your life tonight because you're going to see Muse in a tight little arena. So I'm not saying that stadiums are the end all be all, but, everyone was doing stadiums forever. Like U2, out of the 80s and the 90s, everyone was doing stadiums. It was all about going to see Metallica at a stadium show and whatever. But,
oh, keep going.
Yeah, but so now the kids, that comes back to full records and stuff. Like they just don't listen to full records, but
they will listen to vinyls. They will listen to a record on vinyl.
That's what I'm talking. It's a counterculture movement.
So there's always this. Yeah, there's this moment where that isn't cool anymore. Basically, the word of mouth is, oh yeah, but do you have them on vinyl? Because I do. And that's where people spend their money next. My wife is collecting vinyls like crazy.
Do you remember side A and side B?
Yeah.
Right? And you would buy a record to see what they ended side A with, how they started side B. And then there was a pretty solid chance that the last track on the record was going to be this big epic kind of thing, which often acts would end their show with. So, my little guy
put the cheese at the end of the maze.
Yeah, my guy at the concert, my little guy, he was like, didn't see a shirt that he wanted, looked over and bought the vinyl. And it was just like, okay. So part of it is the build and a lot of these acts, some people follow them from theaters to arenas to stadiums, but a lot of people lose interest and it's a different kind of songwriting now.
Dude, I want to go straight into that. This is we're kind of like we've taken a hard right turn on what we usually talk about on the podcast, but that's okay because I'm interested in this. Have you ever heard of the theory? The genre of music is very specifically tied to the location where it is played. So look at U2 as a great example. First started out really grunge punk rock, right? When they got to stadiums, they sounded like U2 in stadiums. That sound doesn't work in a small garage anymore. It just doesn't translate. And so right now you're hearing a bunch of people that play music and record music so you can listen to it with headphones on because that's where people are listening to music, which that might make it harder to get back to stadiums. But I'm curious if you agree or disagree with that theory.
There's a big thing happening right now, especially in the rock world, where you've got these fights between some of the new acts that are using, a lot of playback and samples and things live. There was a rock band that I think Falling in Reverse just canceled a bunch of shows because their laptops broke. And that set everybody off, like, Sebastian Bach from Skid Row and Eddie Trunk. And they're like, if you fucking can't get up on, sorry, I don't know if I can swear. If you can't get up on stage and play, and then, it turned into this whole like old guy from the porch new thing. And this is just the way it's going and all the rest of it. So I don't know where I land on it. I don't think I've been on tour with an act that hasn't used some kind of something. I mean, I'm pretty confident Pearl Jam never has, but that art of the jam, like if something goes wrong and you can't jam for 20 minutes while it's being fixed, that's the problem for me. It's like oh man, okay, well, let's just jam for 20 minutes. And people are gonna be like, yeah, let's watch them jam for 20 minutes. So
are you following the possibilities of AI in music?
Well, okay. So I'm seeing, there was a really great article by Bob Lefsetz about this a little while ago. It can't be ignored. All right. Cause if you start screaming at it like they did with Napster and stuff, it's just like, it's a proven theory that it's not going to work. Like you just can't fight technology. Oh, yeah. So what's going to happen, I think, is, you're going to see more rights around it. Probably. I can't speak too much to this because I don't know the publishing world as well as I'd like to. So, but there will definitely be some laws created around, all right, hey, ChatGPT, write me some lyrics for a song that sounds like Hey Jude with a mix of One by Metallica and something by Taylor Swift. Let's put it together and give me some kind of lyrics. And then you take that and you put it into the AI generator for music and say, but I want it to sound like Red Hot Chili Peppers meets Pearl Jam meets Sebastian Bach from Skid Row and Katy Perry. Go. And they'll put you out something. And then all four of those artists it's not going to be any different than any other artist fight over the same four chords, which is like, that sounds a little too close to give it away, or that sounds a little too close to this. So I think AI is here. I think it's going to, it's going to write big giant hits. It probably already is writing big giant hits that people don't know about. It can't be ignored, but there's going to have to be some regulation around it. And that's going to start with Apple and Spotify and all these people that kind of go, that are going to make probably producers put something in there that says that it's AI written or a quarter of it's AI written, and then they're going to have to go through some stuff, I think, to regulate.
It's going to kill the live industry?
No chance.
No chance. I agree.
Resurgence of the live industry because
that's
of
exactly
this
what
advancement.
I think. Yes.
It's going to kill it's just going to make the DJ industry that much more ridiculous.
Dude, I just got done being a DJ, and I'm like, I want to be a DJ because it's going to make your life so much easier. Holy shit. It was so hard.
But you're actually talented. Don't outsource that to the robot.
My gag, I have a funny thing about that, because I always thought Saturday Night Live could do a great job of this, which was, a tale of two clubs, which is in one club you have Slash, Lars Ulrich from Metallica, Robert Plant singing, and Geezer Butler on bass. And they're like the ultimate cover band playing these great songs. And there's 4 people in the club. And then you go next door and it's, I want to say Dead Mouse, but it's somebody like that with a giant mouse head. And all they're doing is playing video games inside it. They're not actually doing anything. And people are losing their minds over on the one club when he just hits a button for the drop. And the other side, Slash is doing the greatest guitar solo ever and no one's paying attention. And I just thought, that's the reality of where we're at, is that people are so into like, they have no idea what a DJ looks like for the most part. They have no idea whatever. They're just there for the drop. And I know there's some talented ones out there that do some great stuff, but the whole culture is kind of interesting to me.
Here's what I think's going to shake out. I think it's going to split into 2. There's going to be the craft side of it, the analog side. Dude can actually play a solo, and it's beautiful, and it's technical, And the people who can appreciate it are actually going to increase in quantity because it's going to become like the resurgence of vinyl. So it'll be like, I'm now picking up a palette for guitar solos. I'm picking up a palette for pianists or for cello. I think that's what will happen to I'll call it the analog or the manual music. But the direct to consumer, I listen to what you curated to put into my headphones or into my car or into my office space. That is moving to a commodity. It's already been wildly commoditized in the last 10 years with Spotify and Apple Music. And this is just going to push that one further degree. And here's what's going to happen. After a large percentage of that is actually AI generated, people will start to interact with artists' bodies of work, like a choose your own adventure book. So the artist will set up the parameters, and then you're going to go, hey, I want to feel the bass more, or I want more of a drop in this, and it'll become more about the selfish person, but you'll be interacting with Taylor's.
It's going to revolutionize the film industry. I'll tell you that. Because
Film
then you
too.
don't have to have people write things for you. You can say, this is my
Film
exact...
too.
I have that as one of my ideas for today, but we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, I have that as one of the ideas.
So the analog business won't go away. What it will do is it will detach. So economically speaking, like the way these businesses work have been coagulated. They kind of have been tied together. You get ticket sales, and that offsets the fact that Spotify is not paying you any royalties, right? Or hardly any. And they will detach more and more, and they will become separate industries. So you just won't have, this is a famous band, and I get their album, and I go see them live. It won't be the same like that anymore in 5 years. Like, it's going to be a short period of time.
You know what's funny? What's cracking me up right now is we talked earlier about how TikTok's moved down to maybe number 3 or number 4. Mm-hmm. Only a couple months ago, the whole world was like, NFTs, this is where it's going to go. And it's completely ignored already as people are trying to combat AIs because they were afraid of what NFTs were doing. Now they're afraid of what the AI thing's going to do. Like every 6 months, we're afraid of something. And, some things are going to stick and some things are going to go away. And AI is going to stick. So it has to be, somebody's going to get really creative. And we still haven't had that person yet. I mean, whoever created the AI technology technically is the Apple of the new world. I mean,
there's a bunch of them making these large language models that we're going to be. It's basically like infrastructure. It's like they put a freeway down for AI, and the rest of us can build off ramps from it and build our own little.
But I'm not sure that an artist has capitalized on it yet enough to like change the industry. And we haven't really had a real change in the industry outside of Napster, but. I mean, there hasn't been like the Seattle scene, or there hasn't been like the resurgence of this or that. Everything's kind of melding together a little bit. And I think AI is going to open up. Well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to encourage it, but I definitely think that it's going to open up a new channel of things to your point, Kendall. I think there's something new coming down that space that people are going to be entertained by, but also it's going to become part of our daily life. So
where are the opportunities in analog? So we know that change is coming. We know there's volatility in the industry itself, but how does somebody who is an artist, there's plenty of kids still out there who are 19 and 22 years old that are actually talented. What could they be doing with their craft to actually be able to be paid for?
Well, I think the AI. I think the AI is going to obviously get smarter. Right now, it's based on information that it knows, but I think it's going to get smarter to the point where you're going to have like you remember the movie with Joaquin Phoenix called Her, and he was talking to a computer and had a relationship with a computer, and I remember it being so far fetched. I was like, wow, I couldn't imagine that. Just 2 weeks ago, when I was doing some Dude Did Will podcast stuff, I said, I'm going to try this out. Give me some ideas for the show when I have a guest cancel. What can I do? And it gave me a novel. And I was like, then I found myself talking to it. And then it was like, thanks for your help. And it's like, thanks, no problem. I'm like, what the hell did I just do?
You're being nice to a robot.
I'm being nice to a robot. It was just the funniest thing.
That's just insurance in case,
Dude,
you know,
no.
they
This is
come
exactly
for you.
this is
nice.
exactly what is going to be perfect for the analog industry. What you're talking about, because what AI doesn't have is insecurity. What AI doesn't have is you're sitting up there playing a guitar solo, wondering, "Holy shit, I don't know if I can do this," and you can't live in the moment. There is no moment. You're ones and zeros. So, to what you're saying, the live experience I think that will burgeon. It will grow. It'll blow up. So if you actually want to be a good artist, right? Well, you can be a good artist in many ways.
I would combine it with like this speakeasy concept. So, I mean, just like teenagers have always thrown raves in dungeons, you know, we've got this studio here under 3 feet of concrete, and I could see charging like a door fee for, 30 people to come into a room to hear a great cellist. No phones, check it at the door. The cellist gets paid, the venue gets paid, and we're done. It doesn't take a lot of marketing. I mean, one Instagram post and you fill up the room, and then you charge higher tickets because it's exclusive.
I mean, I think you're going to get more you're going to get, like anything else, you're going to get much more laziness. Like, I mean, it seems like all this tech that's coming out now is really like geared towards us reducing on one side, reducing workload. On the other side, it's full. Yeah, I need some lyrics for a song about the sun setting over a mountain in Vancouver, and I'm just lazy, and bang, there's your song. So I think you're going to get, and then, people are going to be in the interviews. How did you write that song? Well, I was sitting on the beach and I was looking at the mountains, but deep down, he just typed it into ChatGPT and got lyrics about a mountain. So I think you're going to get
album artwork with one click.
Yeah, you're going to get some laziness. With Canva's added all this AI stuff, and I'm like, I need to know everything they're doing because I need to reduce my micro content workload. So if AI is going to help me reduce my micro content workload, I am 1,000,000,000% in.
Dude, I so agree. I used to pay people for branding. I never pay for that anymore. I used to pay people for graphic design. I never do it anymore. To your point, literally 2 nights ago, my wife's little brother, he comes over, and for fun, he's like, let's write a song. And so we used ChatGPT, and we recorded a song about a Jamaican apocalypse because we just thought, what would be something absurd? And we didn't write any of the lyrics, and it was so much fun, and it was great. But, I mean, it didn't work. Oh, Kendall, did we lose you? I think we lost you. That's funny. All right, that's fine.
Little. It sounds like maybe the baby made a little boo boo there.
It could be
needs a little change.
Oh my gosh! All right, we should change direction though, because I do want to ask you several questions about your podcast specifically.
Sure.
You've talked to a lot of people at this point. Do you have like a ballpark of how many people you've talked to?
Well, I'm up to I think episode 15 or something like that, or 16. So it's coming. Yeah. I took a break last week, but
plus all the old people that you talked to in your previous podcast. So
yeah, I would say I'm up to 100 and probably 20 episodes in total of everything. Yeah.
It's specifically, especially the new one, is around people who are actually doing things or on the direction of doing things or have done things. Have you noticed any common denominators, common occurrences within those people? Is there like any trends?
Like people who have some level of success?
Yeah.
Well, the big thing is it comes back to what I was talking about with, which is why I called it the story of people, but it comes back to ultimately everyone's end game and what their version of making it is. So this, in essence, this show is kind of touches on people's versions of making it. It's just kind of split into 3 categories, because the people who will are the ones that are still dreaming. The people that did are already accomplished and are onto something else, and the people that do are in it currently. So it's kind of a version of that. And the common denominator amongst everybody is their journey to get to where they got to took them to all 3 categories. At least I haven't specifically spoke to specifically a doer, somebody who just specifically did, or someone who will. All of them fit into all 3 categories, and they all have the same journey. Even the future like Paralympian, she's only 19, but she's already done all 3 categories, and then is now looking towards, the next Olympics. But the common thing is the journey, which is so funny to me, because it's a real simple concept. Like, we all have a journey. You guys have a journey. That's why I wanted to talk to you on my show. You guys have this fascinating show. And how did you build it? What did you do? Like, I want to know all that stuff. I like to investigate these things, and hopefully it encourages people. But the common denominator with everybody is that they've all either paid their dues and are onto something else, or their life took them in a different direction and now they're doing this. And it's just a funny thing to see. And even you two have taken a bunch of different directions, and that's a common theme. So
if I could go back a decade and talk to myself, I probably would really hone in on just the old adage, you need to stop overestimating what you can get done in a year, and you need to start thinking more highly of what you can get done in a decade. There's so much compounding available in life if you just stick with it. But you're constantly facing this demon of feeling like you're behind or failing. And what that can really damage is it can force you to pivot too early and too often, therefore resetting the compounding. So the only way to stop compounding in most natural things is to reset it to zero. But
isn't that our natural way? Like for you, like for instance, if you wanted to be a lawyer and you've watched the Pelican Brief, and you watched The Firm, and you watched the Suits, and you watched all these things, and your mission was to be a lawyer in a courtroom, but ultimately you want to be a partner in a firm. Mm-hmm. I mean, what kind of a commitment is that? Because that journey for people in law is different than it's decades, right? So
2 decades probably.
It's 2 decades.
Yeah.
Does anybody have patience anymore to do that?
No. And Warren Buffett says this too. He's like, the problem with, or Charlie Munger, his partner, problem with people is nobody wants to get rich slow. Like this is a problem if you want a specific outcome. But I think if you can just let go of the specific outcome and trust kind of the journey of life and just keep showing up to it consistently, you should be able to trust, if I show up consistently, I meet people, I learn new things, I work and I produce for the benefit of us all, that's why we work, then it's going to be amazing what happens on your journey. So I just think that if people will let go of the outcome, essentially this American dream, this dream you have, but embrace that you can have significance, and the significance isn't a later thing to enjoy, it's in the journey itself. But you are going to be delighted at how far you make it if you're consistent and you keep showing up and you keep putting in the work. You just have to meet people, learn, and grow. And over a 10 and 20 year horizon, you're going to like what you become. But a lot of people blow their lives up halfway through because there's this shame and guilt attached to, I'm not good enough. I'm not fun.
Dude, I don't think it's that. I mean, like, they blow their life up because they have a kid and they need to get a normal job. And so this special dream that they had when they were 12 years old, they have to put it on the shelf because, you know what? They have to put food on the table. And
I
think you can
easy
do both.
for the person without a kid to say, my kids just come to the studio with me.
I'm doing great, man.
My kids are still here. You just adapt them in.
I think the other side of it though is your show, for instance, talks about incredible ideas, right? And
bad ones.
For a long time, though, we've been inundated with Shark Tank and Dragon's Den up here and different things, and it's given people permission to go and follow their dreams. And that maybe started with American Idol, but I think these things have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
The problem is if you put 8 people together at a table, 2 of them are killing it, 2 of them have given up. Mm-hmm. 2 of them are still chasing it. And then 2 of them are going to change whatever they're doing right at that moment based on the conversations with the other 6 or the other 7. So we're like, oh man, I never even thought about that. No, I'm out of here. I'm quitting. I'm going to do that. And especially when you see like, and I think it's a real problem right now. I think we touched on it on my show. The quit your job and sell these things right now. And I make $15,000 a month by affiliate marketing. But it's like, I remember
what a miserable way to live, though. Affiliate marketing.
I know, but it's the get rich quick thing, and it comes back to the what you're saying. People don't want to get rich over time; they want to get rich on Saturday. So, and there's NFTs, and there's the stock market's always been that, and the idea of Las Vegas, and hit and run and make your millions and leave. It's never gone away. It's always been there, but it's just quadrupled down now because if you look at one of those videos, then every single person is getting that. You can do this. Go to Walmart, buy 10 really shitty things and sell them on eBay, and you'll have $5,000 on Sunday. And people go, okay, I'm going to go do that because I need money right now. That's what's happening right now. That's every industry. Baseball. Look what just happened to baseball. They're like, we're losing fans because no one wants to watch baseball for 3 hours. So we're going to 2 hours and 10 minutes and we're doing this and that. And the baseball players are like, what the hell is going on? The purity of the game's gone. It's like speed up, speed up, speed up. Every single industry is pivoting to quicker, faster, more productive, quicker, like whatever it is. And to your point, Kendall, it's like no one wants to get rich slowly. And we are inundated consistently with opportunity with those 8 people at the table that are all talking about how they got rich or how they're doing. And then like, I know when you guys went to school, I don't know how old you are, but when I went to school, it was lawyer, plumber, doctor, fireman, police officer, or you're working at GM.
Right.
No one says you can actually, get paid to travel. What? How? Oh, do it like this,
right.
Or that. Like those were the 5 things that you had to do. And if you didn't fall into one of those categories, you were taught that way within those 5 categories, and you moved on in life within those 5 categories.
Dude, this is my favorite topic.
So you did like production, which is awesome. Did people look down on you for that?
Well, one of my mentors says that he's a plumber because people don't understand how you can make music in the industry or money in the music industry. My partner, Chris, on the Live from Machete Comics podcast, he does, he's a full-time comic book artist, right? And people are like, there's no way, he goes and tells somebody at the pub that's what he does. And they're like, oh, what's that? How do you do that? How do you make money at that? And so my mentor used to say to me, I just tell them I'm a plumber and they go, oh, cool. Yeah. Because they don't understand that you can make money in other ways.
Yes.
Like people just don't understand it.
This is really smart. Kendall and I both have talked about this many times. It is hard to explain to people what we do.
We certainly don't make money from TikTok.
Oh, that's true. We got to work on that one.
Number 4 now.
So I feel like there's this cross section of putting in real labor that helps society as a whole produce more GDP. Forgive the economist in me, but this is how we've lifted the most people out of poverty compared to any 50-year period of history in history. Like this is the last 50 years we have completely changed the charts for people living in poverty and that type of suffering. Now, what we're trading it for is a type of mental suffering and depression that we probably didn't see coming. And technology does a poor job at basically creating supply and demand laws that help us live better lives, but it does a great job at giving us options to live better lives. So we live in a time in history, and this is why I was interested in our show premise in the first place, where you don't know what you don't know. And if somebody will just point it out, you might make a choice today to start heading in that direction that affects the rest of your life. It's not about the American dream. It's not about getting rich. It's, did you know you can be a production manager on tour and you can go experience moments and get paid back to back to back? Now it comes at a cost. You got to put in the work. You're not going to get paid as much as you could as a lawyer. You're not going to be able to be famous yourself.
No,
you won't have a lot of extra time, but you won't have to be a lawyer to make money.
Well, that's what I'm saying. There's so many options now.
And lawyer sucks.
No one's in a rush. Like, no one's in a rush to, by grade 10, you when I was growing up, it was like you had to have that path on the way. You had to be, if you're going to law school or if you're going into this, you really had to have sights set on grade 13, which was offered then. You had to have all these things and start gearing your studies towards that. Now the kids are like, I'm just going to start an OnlyFans page.
Sophomore year of high school is when I blew up my trajectory. So I was straight A student. I was in, up these high level math classes, and I was up for these like engineering degree full ride scholarships, and I'm looking at the SATs. How high can I get my SATs to go to the best schools for engineering? And I job shadowed an engineer, and I was like, this is awful and depressing. I've been working how hard for what?
Yeah.
And then I looked at my dad's life and my mom's life, and my mom was an entrepreneur over here teaching herself how to write code and at 10 p.m. at night when she's exhausted, but she was free. And my dad's over here living the, silver handcuffs company man journey. And we could have a loaded Yukon and go snowboarding on the weekends, but
not if you don't have
was
weekends.
Sad.
Dude,
well, he didn't have weekends in his mind.
It's so funny that you say exactly this. This is, you talked about lawyers. This is exactly what I did with lawyers, because I wanted to be a lawyer. And so I wanted to be a barrister. And so I talked to 10 lawyers, and 1 out of 10, I asked the question. I said, hey, if you could go back, would you do this again? Only 1 of them said yes. 9
said no. I believe it.
No.
Well, now their jobs
man.
can be replaced by ChatGPT. And I'm not calling our lawyer when I need to make a contract now.
Probably
by the way.
Oh my God, it's I'm just waiting for it to take over accounting software so I can be
it does.
Even like
it's happening
fully, where I'm like, this is what I have and whatever. But it's, you still need the human element, I think, and I think whoever
you don't need it, but we'll always have it. We won't.
Yeah, sure.
So that'll be the trend. Is it jobs that we don't like that we need? Those will get replaced, and jobs we want, we will never let go to the robots, right?
Sure.
So if we want to be an artist, all we will do is become a tech-empowered artist. At the end of the day, human nature.
Dude, I hope so. That's what people said decades ago, again and again and again. It just hasn't entirely played out that direction. But guys, I think we should stop talking about the end of the world. Everybody's thought that, with the advent of machines and all these things, life will be so good. You can just spend all day doing nothing. And for some people, they do. But then there's still tribes in Africa that have a hard time getting water, So we have a bit of an infrastructure issue.
It's just, it's happening over time.
It's wildly on both sides, right? There's a whole economic conversation we can get into this, and I love that.
Sure.
But I don't want to talk about the end of the world anymore. I want to talk about some business ideas we might have. That is generally what we do. Brenton, I don't know if you brought any ideas.
Well, we talked a little bit on mine about some different things, but I did. We were talking about AI. I've got this idea called Take One. And it's script based. We talked about this earlier about scripts. I think AI is going to create a whole new world of screenwriters and, movie makers. Because if the AI thing can speed up the script writing process by even proofreading your script, and spitting back out moments for you, I think if AI gets to a spot where it's like a blue check mark, like Twitter, where it's certified by the Hollywood press or whatever the hell it is, it's like this program is full on been vetted and all the rest of it, then I would think that would open a door to something called Take One, in which case you could upload your script, and instead of trying to shop it to all the Hollywood people, it's actually just it's been vetted already through this system, and you just take your script that you wrote and got AI help with to bring it up and make it really perfect to that situation. And instead of shopping it to Hollywood, you upload it to Take One. And if someone wants it, they buy it on the spot, but you get full credit and a spot in the Academy because it was vetted. And I think you're going to see the traditional screenwriter. I don't want them to go away, but I think the traditional screenwriter, I worked on this for 15 years and this and that. you're going to hear stories of like, I was stuck and AI came and rescued me, and it's been certified by the Hollywood, by actor or SAG or whatever the hell they are. And you would have this spot where it's almost like, on CapCut or something, when you have, music that's already been, approved, and it's royalty-free music. It's almost like royalty-free scripts. So it's like, there's going to be this massive upload of independent film writers. And I think that would be amazing, because it would speed the whole process up of people trying to find a movie about this or find a movie about that. Oh, I like this script. It's cool. And it's called Take One. So I think that would be really cool.
I like the angle that your brain's taking there. I'm just really concerned you're not going far enough, and you're selling the system short on where it'll actually be like next year. So,
I'm not very bright, so explain.
Well, so it's not even a brightness issue. It's an exposure to some of the systems that already exist, and
sure,
what rate we're really compounding at here. So not to disappoint, but that same system, you could generate the script. You could have another editing AI edit the script. You could have preference over which versions of the script you like. And then full-on live action film and audio can be applied by the computer without actors acting it or anyone. So we're just talking about 3 subscriptions to 3 softwares, one to generate the storyboard and the script, one to generate and you can release it. What this will create is a different way we honor art. So it'll be more about, did Brenton have better taste in his process of using the tools to create a story and a narrative that I want to be drawn into, instead of creativity applied through skill, right? So even what you described there, if somebody made that system, economically speaking, be trucked over within the year by the advent of these other tools to just do the whole thing straight to the end.
I think I definitely agree with you. I think Netflix will be probably the first ones or whatever. They're already going to have an AI section of movies, but I think the integrity of film
gonna have to be protected.
Yeah.
And we'll buy it. But I bet it looks like, you know how they have like an indie section now?
Yeah. That'd be an AI section.
No. I think everything will be AI. And I think the indie section will be like the analog.
Sure, the old school.
So, that was actually Tom Cruise in a jet. That was actually filmed. With a camera? Yeah, with a camera.
What with the remember the Truman Show, and we're like, no way.
Oh,
it's
crazy.
Just so crazy how far
it is crazy.
It's just insane where what they say about the technology between 1950 and 2000 or whatever was all the technology between 1950 and 2000 was quadruple what it was between 1700 and 1950 or whatever it was, just the movement in technology. And already the technology between just in the 6 months we've talked, but right. Just moving back, I can't even fathom this idea of what even the next
we don't
5
know
years
how the
like.
markets will interact with it. So I would say the hardest thing to predict is what demand will do, because the easiest thing to do is to apply it to the way supply and demand works right now. My Netflix will look like what? That's kind of what our brains want to do. But when things are changing at this rate that we've never, when we're talking about major change happens in a week of advancement, because AI, I don't know if you know this, AI is coding itself now. So it's not coders writing these, we're steering it and it's improving itself. And that's how all the big players are starting to tap into. It means the rate of compounding, we're limited by our creativity. So if you think about how often does technology play out to aesthetically even look like something straight out of Star Wars or Star Trek, that's because we're actually limited by our creativity. Creativity and the ability to interact with people are going to be the highest paid types of people. It'll be the creatives. We thought it was going to, it just replace labor jobs originally. And then we're like, oh my gosh, it's replacing artists. But the next phase of this is no, the artists will have the most open minds on how to use it. Those will be the people that actually run with the wave of the future. That's what I think.
You remember on the last, Dustin, I'm sure you got one. Let me, do one more thing here. You remember the last time we talked and I was saying that we needed something called dreamjob.com, which would accumulate all the jobs that we talked about that were like, that you're not thinking about, but that you could be doing. You could get moved to New Zealand and get, and make 150 grand a year to do this, but you got to live on a hill or something. It would compile all these things. Since we've spoken, I'm sure I can just type that into ChatGPT and it'll just, what are the top 100 dream jobs around the world that I don't know about? And it'll just tell it to me. So already my idea is gone.
Dude, no, it's not actually. I'm so glad you brought that up. I have thought a lot about that idea. That is a damn good idea. Yeah, no, you should do this. And
How?
I was thinking,
I've got children. I've got kids.
Just take them with you.
Are you out?
Are you leaving? He's leaving?
I don't know. Maybe it's not a poo break.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, I had to go back. Do you need to take a break? You can if you need to.
I'm gonna. I gotta record myself in about 10 minutes. So yeah, I got a little bit of time.
You have 10 minutes left.
Yeah, 10, 15. I got to do another recording in a bit. So
oh my gosh. Okay,
I could talk to you guys for hours, but
we should land the plane anyways. I got a poopy diaper to change.
Okay, we do need to drop a few more ideas.
Okay.
Okay, but you should do this. I was looking into it. I think it's a fantastic idea. I would call it remotelivingboard.com. You can take the website. It's wide open. And then you just go find... Yeah, I looked it up. I think it's a genius idea. Go find governments that are saying, hey, we need people to move to this place, and they pay people to do that, right? So what you could do is just say, hey, I don't think you should pay people. You should just pay me a cut, and I'm going to make your place famous. Now you fly over there, do like one of those vlog style, hey, this is a day in the life in, such and such a place, or hire somebody to do that. That'd be fine. And just make it blow up on Instagram or whatever the top 3 platforms are at the time. And people will always do that. We have wanderlust. It's built into our DNA, and everybody will always be constantly looking at it. And if your channel is constantly bringing in the new spot, it will be fantastic. And then you can monetize it by turning it into a job board for those locations. People will obviously go there. Job boards pay really, really well. It's a good idea, man. That's a really, really good idea. I was sitting on that one.
You're assuming I have time, though.
No. ChatGPT
come on.
is going to make this way easy for you. So it'll write you the code. You just have to ask it, please write me the code.
No, you don't need a code. This is a no-code solution. Just go for a normal website. It's more of a social media.
We're friends now. Let's just partner on this and figure it out.
We could, man. Let's text about it. I love this idea so much. Okay, I've got an idea. This is a fun idea. This is very anti-AI, anti-everything. I think there could be a really exciting business called Date in a Box. And maybe we've talked about this before. I don't think we have, though. Where if I want to go on a date, I just go to Date in a Box website and say, all right, I'm in this city. And they're like, that's awesome. All right, we're going to meet you at this location with your box. And it's going to have all the activities for the evening. And you and your spouse, you and your significant others get to go on this wonderful date that you didn't plan. And you could choose levels of excitement, levels of, what do you want? Something easy? You want something hard? And also, if it gets big enough, you can, have special reservations at restaurants, things like that, because people will want to push their platform on your platform.
That's a good idea.
So fun to run.
There's a version of that ish that I'm seeing online about like a couple's box.
Oh, is it really?
Well, it's a subscription service and they send it to you once a month and it's got a ton of like things that couples would do together.
Wait a minute. That's the adventure challenge.
Fast, though. Yeah,
that is the adventure thing. So that's kind of, but I understand what you're saying.
They're in my city.
Yeah.
I know
they are
half their team.
That's
totally so there you go.
They work. That's funny.
But I'm not saying that's your version, but
no, I don't like the productized. I don't like the commodity of it all. I like the experience side of it because that makes it so much more, I don't know, exciting. I'm tired of buying things, and whenever I have a new experience, man, that creates an impact.
I do think experiences are going to massively increase.
Right?
Like the revenue that those companies make should be going up as people are getting more and more depressed with just their swiping all night long and then falling asleep.
Not to mention you can get Timberlake to sing your jingle.
Oh, that's true. With AI or just for real?
Well, no, because remember he had that skit on Saturday Night Live called.
Dick in a Box. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
you can call it. It's my date in a box. You know what I mean?
Dude, I thought about that. That's hilarious. That's really funny.
So there you go. There you go.
So funny. Kendall, you got any ideas for us? Fresh one?
Yeah. So I'm kind of hooked on these analog things as well, like things that are getting away from the digital.
Mm-hmm.
So the premise of this is just, I don't think people can handle as much volatility as the world is introducing right now. We have volatility in banking, we have volatility in technology, we have volatility in advice, and then we kind of have poor mental hygiene. So I think that literally guiding hikes and guiding tours local, like literally guides, are just it's a new hustle. Like it's an old hustle. A tour guide is an old thing, but a young person who just knows the area and can pick what's most exciting about our area. Around here, we have waterfalls. So it'd be so easy for me to just put on Facebook, hey, I have 12 slots for Wednesday and 12 slots for Friday evening, and we're going to visit this waterfall. I provide these, snacks when we get there. We're doing couples only on Friday, but Wednesday's a free-for-all, whatever. Those types of things, I think, are a way to not go do a day job. You don't have to go work for GM. You don't have to work for OpenAI. You don't have to sit in your room depressed. You can actually just go
it's kind of
do something
scalable
you
too.
enjoy.
You
and
can
take
hire your
people.
friends and have them do
True.
it. Dude, the hack for this, I've said it before, is Airbnb experience.
VRBO experiences. That's all great.
Because you don't have to have a business license, and you can just try it. And if you hate it, you don't do it. No big deal.
Yeah.
Some good ones there, guys.
Dude, I did
Hey.
that. I told you I did that in Rome. We did a bike tour, and it was so much fun. And that's exactly, I just hired some tour guide, and we biked around the outskirts of Rome for a whole day. It was the most fun I've ever had.
Well, you know what's happened, and I'll, jump, but Uber added just drive, right? So there's been
Just
some
drive me somewhere.
just drive. So when I was traveling, like I was in
Wow.
some town in the middle of Texas, and the Uber driver and there wasn't really like a mall there, but he was just like, like 58, 60 years old, whatever the hell, clearly had been in that town his whole life. Very enthusiastic about his town. Was like, hey, where are you from, buddy? And he was that super enthusiastic guy that I actually was like, I just want to spend 2 hours with this guy. And Uber added like Uber Drive, and I'm like, just drive me around and you show me your town, and I'm going to pay you 50, until it runs out. It's almost like a taxi where you're like, just drive. You see it in the movies all the time. Just drive.
It's amazing.
But this is like Uber Drive where you're like, well, what do you want to do? I want to see your town. Okay, great. Well, this is this is that, this is this, and your bill is $40.
So you have gray hair. Why not just rent a dad? Why not just rent a dad? Like, okay, it's like there's got a lot of fatherless generation here. They're just passive
Feel like
fathers just
there's
ran out on us. So you could just
probably
rent yourself out. I'm going to tell you how it is sometimes. Sometimes I'm going to give you sage
Substantial
advice.
amount of security issues there, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think the drive is better. Dude, I did this exact same thing. I was in Kiev, and I got into a taxi. I was like, I have no idea where to go, but I'm sure you do. Here's $50, which was a lot of money back in the time for them. And it was so much fun. You can do so
I
much
just
with
did
that
it
stuff.
too in South America, and it was a blast too. We kind of did that, but I just picture that conversation. It was like, so what really happened? Well, I called Rent-A-Dad, and and then it goes.
Well, Brenton,
this
thank
happened.
you for your time. Thank you for letting us rent you for the hour. I appreciate that. And if any listeners want to go check out the story of people, did, and will, check out Brenton on Tour or at Did Will, and you'll find him.
I appreciate the time, guys, and as mentioned, I love the show and massive support of what you guys do. So awesome stuff! And hey, let's start a company. We got a couple of ideas there.
Sure.
Let's do it.
I don't mind.
Like-
Let's do it. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm
Hit
in.
me up. I'll do it. See ya.
I'm
That's
in.
awesome. Good luck, guys.
Thanks, fellas. Be well.
Dude, awesome. Take it easy.
Yeah.